Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you taking your afternoon to come spend it with us. We've got a lot of fantastic opportunity, a lot of fantastic information to share with you this afternoon. And then we have a lot of discussion about where we're at in our bundling process, which is effectively a merger between our two operations. But before we get there, I always have to say that this particular meeting, on the town hall meeting that we do these in place of the 21 or 24 local area meetings that we've done every year up until about 3 years ago, where in the month of January I did this same report 24 times. Now I get to do it 3 times, and you happen to be at the third one of the day, so hopefully you're at the best one. The first one's always the roughest, with me trying to find my way through the presentation, but hopefully we're just about there, and we'll give you a good presentation this afternoon. So this presentation is really split into 2 parts. It's first to do what we have to do as part of our due diligence and requirements from the state to do the local area meetings, the general manager's report of that. And then the second part of it is really to allow our guests at the table, our members and guests at the table to come up and talk about the bundling/merger process. So today with us, sitting at the head table, is Bob Ligori, the POA president, Jerry Leiter, the club president, Wes Davis, chairman of our bundling committee, and then Michelle Tanzer, who is our legal counsel from Gray and Robinson. So about halfway through the meeting, they'll step up and take it from there. I'll sit down and just continue to drive for them so they can talk to the information that we have. But we always like to start with kind of the year in review, financial results, real estate marketing, our POA budget information. That's a requirement of those local area meetings, kind of where we're at in our whole projects, and then finally the bundling progress update. So let's start with the year in review. So tomorrow we're 1 year and 1 month old as a new club. So we opened December 8th last year. I've said to the first 2 groups, we opened December 8th, and a lot of you waited to come down last year because you knew we were going to be a little late opening, and to say we got our butts kicked the first 3 weeks or 2 months or 3 months, I'm not sure, is probably an understatement. We were understaffed and overwhelmed a little bit, but we made it through it as an organization. We took the summer to regroup. Carl and his team have worked real hard to build a great team for this season. I think we're off to a great start, and we're looking forward to providing a wonderful year for you. So the response from you so far on the clubhouse has been nothing short of fantastic. You've used it in bigger numbers than we ever expected you to use it, and we really appreciate it. When we see you coming as often as you do, particularly for the dinner hour, it makes us feel good that we've moved from your last choice to perhaps your first choice or one of your top choices to come to the club for dining, so you don't have to leave the property, don't have to worry about trying to go somewhere else and get reservations and get in. So we certainly appreciate that. The impact on real estate and membership sales was immediate. It really started kind of once the shell of the clubhouse got up and the roof went on. It began to be painted and the landscaping went in. Ann and her office became very, very busy over there. And it continued through last season, continued through the summer, and so far has continued into this season. Last year, our fiscal year, we had 67 new members join the club. That compares to 36 the prior year and 31 the year before that. So you can see what the impact of that new clubhouse has done for us. Actually, our average membership growth is around 40 to 42 members per year. So you can see that we had a little bit of a slowdown during the construction process, but then as soon as that finished, boy, it took off, and it's really taken off in a big way. The new clubhouse this past year, I think most of you saw the e-blast that we sent out. Golf Inc. magazine recognized us as the 3rd coolest clubhouse in America. I told the other 2 groups, well, who beat us? I don't think anybody beat us, but there was an $80 million clubhouse out in Palm Desert and a $50 million clubhouse in Colorado that finished respectively 1 and 2 ahead of us. But I still think we've got the best clubhouse. I've had an opportunity to look at all their pictures. I still think we're the best. So And then, and then finally, as a reminder, and you know this, we had a successful member vote last year for the South Golf Course and to expand the fitness facility. Just this past week, about 6 weeks ago, we were notified that we have been nominated to become a distinguished club. That's through Boardroom Magazine, which if you've ever served on a club board, and I guess I knew this, but I didn't realize that Michelle is a regular contributor to Boardroom Magazine. But we were called and said that we were nominated. In order to go through that, you have to invite them on your property for the day. They come through a full day inspection, much like a Forbes five-star or mobile, five dining, those types of things where it's a full day inspection. They interview all your key staff and they rank all of your different areas of your operation. Well, last Wednesday, we were just notified that we have been awarded the prestigious Distinguished Elite Club Award. So, very proud of that. So, you will see an e-blast going out on that. I just approved it for Brian to send out later this afternoon. So, that's coming next. So, year in review for the POA. We were made whole out of Hurricane Irma. We had a bunch of damage, certainly a bunch of, God bless, we were lucky that we dodged another big one, right? But the damage that was done was a lot of trees down, a lot of debris, a lot of overtime cleanup, reforestation, stuff such as that. Working through the insurance committee and the management team and our finance committee, we were made more than whole on both the club and the POA side to the tune of about $800,000. So that event didn't cost you anything out of your pocket. Victor Santiago retired this past year after 44 years with us. You may recognize him as Athena's right hand. He was, I like to call him driving Miss Daisy. He's the guy you always saw driving Athena around. So, and David McPherson is our new landscape manager. If you've not met him, you will. He's a very genuine individual, and I think he'll be a perfect fit for our organization. We sold our POA model in Osprey this year for $239,000. Very pleased with the way that worked out. We replenished our working capital at that. We also, from Kittywake Rentals, those of you that own Kittywake property, during the construction years, rentals were a little lean. You didn't have as many people wanting to come down, fight the dust and dirt and everything else. They found other places to go. Last year they had their best year in a long, long time, and I would tell you they're on track to have an even better year this year. So looks really good coming in. Realty operations had a record-breaking year. What I mean by that, I talked about the 67 sales. Well, on a calendar year basis, we finished the year with 92 sales. Our best year ever was 91 back in the very height of the market, back in the early 2000s. So to finish with 92 sales this year, I think we can say it was due to your enthusiasm and certainly due to this new clubhouse that we're standing in. So congratulations to all of you. Our 2018 financial results, POA operating and capital is going to finish very near budget for the year. We're projected to have a profit of about $170,000 in real estate, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. The club finished its budget year at about a $20,000 negative, but that was a conscious decision on adding some insurance and a few other things, buying down our deductibles that cost us a little more than we had budgeted for. The club also had a record-breaking year in change in net assets, an increase of $2.2 million. I will tell you where the bulk of that was from. Last year, we generated $870,000 in net new initiation fees after paying people back their certificates going out. This year, we netted $1,880,000, so net change $1 million more in initiation fees this year than last year. That's what 67 new members gets for you. So it goes a long way toward replenishing working capital and giving us the breathing room that we need as an organization. So when you look at it in a chart, you can see we're projecting a very slight negative of $10,000 in the POA operating. Actually, we think that's going to come in at zero or just above it now. That's at zero. That's the 20 I was talking about. And then club capital There was about $63,000 worth of capital projects that we were unable to get to with everything that we had going on. It was a timing issue that we rolled into this year as we moved on. From a real estate marketing standpoint, we talked about the 92 contracts. They had a value of $22.4 million in sales this year versus $13 million in sales the year before. What does that mean? It means closings were up 52% from the previous year and volume is up 58%. Another great story to tell. Inventory is up about 11%, and I'll talk a little more about that in a second. It's down from 13% the previous year. And I said earlier, we expect to finish the year with a cash profit of $170,000. That's after funding $180,000 in marketing costs, so Realty really made a $350,000 profit before we used a portion of that money to handle marketing costs. Otherwise, it would have been included in your POA budget. Listing history as of the end of the year, 81 listings. We were 73 at the same period last year. We were 93 there. If I went back this way, a bunch of you would remember where we were in 110, 115 listings. So our listings have come down, and when you look at 81 listings, 92 contracts, we're on about a 1-year inventory turn right now. You'd like to get that down to somewhere between a 6 and 9 months. If you can get your listings down to 6 and 9 month turn, then you really begin to elevate the pricing of the markets. And so ultimately we'll continue to try to drive those listings down to be able to do that. Final thing there was we need everybody engaged in promoting Quail Ridge. I've never seen as many of you bring friends and family as you did this past year to show off the new clubhouse, and that resulted in people saying, hey, maybe I need to take a look at this place. And that resulted in what we ended up with in terms of sales for the year. Some of our key marketing objectives for the year. Brian got here in September. Brian Merbler, our new director of marketing, in the back of the room. First thing he did was put together a full-fledged marketing plan for us. We're working off that plan for this year. He's got specific branding and targeting that he can do by zip code, by affluence of the market, he can slice and dice it better than anybody I've ever seen. So very pleased with that. Those of you that have come to a lot of the events that we've done this year, you'll certainly remember that about the time you get home, you get an email from us, and here's pictures from the event. So we're doing a better job of turning that stuff around and getting it out there for you. There'll be more of that coming, more video coming, more print ads. We've got a newsletter landing this week, so it'll be available around the club and any of the outlets, plus a digital version will be emailed to you hopefully by the end of this week, Brian. Is that our goal? Okay. Not to put you on the spot, but putting you on the spot. And then we'll continue to promote the new club amenities. We'll drive online traffic. Him and his team are really good at the website, the social media, all that, and really doing a great job with the analytics. So couldn't be more pleased to have Brian with us. So, and then finally, he'll continue to evolve that plan to make sure we're hitting every area that we need to hit for the success of Quail Ridge. Now, on the finances, increase in assessments for 2019. This is the POA part. This was approved by the board at their December meeting. It's a 3.7% increase. Here's how that breaks down. Bulk rate cable TV represents 1.7% of that. Your operating assessments is 1.1. Capital assessments 0.9. So taking the cable TV out, which we're going to talk about more in just a second, would represent roughly a 2% increase for you, which we consider very nominal with regular staff increases, cost of living increases, fuel increases, etc., to get to those numbers. So what I'd like to do today is spend a little bit of time talking about cable TV and kind of where we're going or where we think we're going with the cable TV. Before I do that, that's a total POA budget of $10.3 million. Back in the summer, we asked you guys to complete a survey on cable TV. Question 15 on it was, would you be interested in community-wide contract includes HD internet at a reduced service, at a reduced rate for services? 586 of you answered the question. 96% of you said yes, you absolutely would. we viewed that as our marching orders to go forward in our negotiations for what we were trying to do with the cable company. The other question that we asked you was, what do you spend over and above what we do now? As you may or may not know, in your POA fees for the last 10 years, you've been paying $40 a month for basic cable. And then you pay for whatever over and above basic cable that you get. So that's been in your POA dues. So where we're at with this is this summer, Barbara Ann and Deanna talked to every community that's gone through this process in the last couple of years to find out who they chose, why they chose them, what they learned from the installation process, what their new betters were. We tried to learn from all of our peers in the industry. We interviewed 3 companies, Comcast, Hotwire, and Atlantic Broadband. We quickly discounted Atlantic Broadband. They just don't have the strength here or the ability to handle what we would say a horizontal community versus a vertical. They do some condo buildings, particularly down in the Miami area, but they don't have the ability yet here. We've received offers from Comcast and Hotwire based on fiber optics installation throughout the entire community. We'll talk about why that's important in just a little bit. High-speed internet and high-def TV included in our pricing. We've engaged an attorney that specializes in this. Her name is Isla Feld. She's excellent in terms of negotiating the contracts, and we're real close on contracts with both Comcast and Hotwire, playing one off the other to get our absolute best deal. We're currently in the final stages of negotiation. So just as a reminder, here's what was included in your POA fees. The digital starter lineup, a standard definition, standard digital box, not high def, and then 2 digital adapters. That's what you were paying the $40 for. You were paying for everything else that you had out there. And all of you know what your cable bills are. I don't need to tell you individually. The new contract has all of it included in there. The only thing outside of that is if you want a specific sports network, or if you want Showtime or Cinemax or something like that, then you would have to negotiate that. We've projected that as an annual average savings to our members at $720. I'll show you how we get there in just a second. The current offers that we have, you might remember we have to build this budget like 3 or 4 months ago. So we had to build the budget based on some assumptions of where we would end up with these cable companies. And I will tell you that our negotiations are actually a little bit better than what our budget assumptions are. The timing of the installation will depend on the provider. What do I mean by that? Well, Comcast has the contract now. Their contract runs out in June. If we're to stay with Comcast, then there's no hurry for us to get it done because we can simply slide it down and when it makes sense. If we're to change and go with Hotwire, we've got to giddy up and we've got to start probably in the next 3 weeks or month. We've got to get that contract in the next couple of weeks, and they would do everything they could to get fiber optic laid in this community by the time the contract expires and get all of you transitioned. That's going to be a big job, and for those that don't get transitioned in time, you can rest assured that Comcast would cut off the bulk cable at that time, and then you're going to have to call individually and get your cable turned back on. Hotwire would make up the difference until they got you transitioned. So we've worked through it both ways. Now, if Comcast does it, they would most likely, they wanted to start in March or April. We said that's about the time our members start leaving. It makes no sense in you doing that. We prefer you to start in September or October as our members are coming back. You can start in September, do our local members who are year-rounders, then move right into all of the members coming back and use the fall, and then they would begin to lay the new fiber optic cable. They can put our new services in based on the current coaxial, but then they would begin to lay the fiber optic in March of 2020. We're negotiating both contracts. We're not sure where we're going to land yet, but I think we're very close. We got our latest contract from Hotwire over the weekend. We expect our final contract from Comcast today or tomorrow, and then I think Mr. Ligori and us will sit down and reach a decision on that. Currently, the $40 expires 8/31. We've slid that out a couple of months. Our contract was signed 6/31, but it didn't start till 8/31, so that's the actual final date on it. We believe a $38 to $40 increase in your current bulk rate, which gets you to that number. We also believe that it would save the average member $100 a month during your season for those of you here during the season, and those of you who turn your cable off, save you another $20 a month while you're gone during the season. That's how we got to that $720. Based on the fact that it would only be 4 months in this year, we anticipate a savings of $260 in 2019 per member. That's how we built the budget. So, what I mean by all that, I talked about the percentages a minute ago. Here's what the numbers really look like. At the operating at 1.1, that's the increase. That's the impact of the cable. That's the impact of the capital. That's the total. So your total increase is $225 for apartments, $267 for villas, $219 for homes, or $20 a month roughly. And then if you realize those savings, you pick up $260. So your savings with the increase in cable against your POA this year ends up being flat. And I'll just use me an example. Delray Dunes did this same transition last year with the cable company, and we had the digital starter, and we went to bundle together. My cable bill before that was $155. My cable bill now is $22. So I'm saving, and my POA went up like $42 a month. So I'll take that all day long, right? So I just have to get my mindset in it like that. Major projects update. Yes, we have finally started the fitness center about 3 months later than we had hoped we would start it. The county was not our friend in terms of getting us the permits. I see Mr. McCarroll chuckling, he knows. So, but we've got it. Now we're going. And the next few weeks we will have a Gantt chart that we will publish for all of you. A Gantt chart simply means a timing chart of when we expect to hit milestones and complete items. I do know already that the yoga people are not happy with the noise down there. We're going to find a new location for the yoga people as early as we can. We've got the 24 local area meetings going on over in the community in our business center this next month, but we'll either get them in here, the tennis center, or somewhere where it's a little quiet for them. But they've removed the roof portions, and they're working on the foundation over there now, and we're finally moving. Unfortunately, I think we're now looking at a completion date of about the time most of you are gone, so about May or something like that, which means we'll take the summer and get all the equipment changed and have it fresh and ready and do a true grand opening when you get back this coming fall, is most likely what will happen. South Golf Course irrigation and renovation. We have received our contract on that. We negotiated, I think we talked with 6 contractors and 6 irrigation contractors, narrowed it down to 3 and 3, got our best and final offers from them, have narrowed it down to an irrigation contractor and a contractor that we want to use on that. We have the initial contracts on my desk now. I have to take the opportunity to share it with the Finance Committee as well as Mr. Smith from the Green and Golf Committee so that they understand where we're at. We've selected the grass, we've selected a irrigation contractor, and we've selected the type of irrigation system, whether it's Rainbird or Toro, that we wish to use on the golf course renovation. So that will begin with the spraying out of the golf course beginning in February, so that's just a few short weeks away. I know there's some questions about glyphosate, which is Roundup, and we're certainly happy to answer what we can today, but we're going to be publishing a lot more information online about it. There's 2 sides of that argument. The reality is we use 630 gallons of Roundup a year in this community right now. 270 on the golf course, 360 in around your homes and everything throughout the year. We're going to be using about 63 gallons per spray on the golf course. And if you're wondering where I got this, I just got an email between the first meeting and second meeting, because I didn't talk about this the first meeting. So just so you know kind of the impact of that, but we're certainly happy to talk to it more. The driving range will be done as part of the South Golf Course irrigation this year. Community irrigation system, when I stood up here in January and in March, we talked about doing the main line this year for that while we had the golf course torn up. We told you that we thought that was probably a $500,000 project. Two things we've learned. First, we've learned that when we stood up and talked to you, we talked about doing south of Woolbright and north of Woolbright being 50 and 50%. I guess I'm an idiot, but I didn't realize 70% of our residences are south of Woolbright. And I bet most of you in this room didn't know that, but 70% of so we've got a bigger project on the south than we've got on the north. The other thing that we've since learned is our irrigation consultant believes that our main irrigation line, which currently takes care of both the club and the POA, if it's only used for the POA, is reusable and probably has a useful life of about 20 more years. And so here's how he gets to that deal. Right now, we're irrigating both the golf course and the community off of one main line. So you've got twice the amount of water going through it as if you were just doing the community irrigation. The other thing is the water comes in at 60 psi. We have to bump it up with pumps to 120 for a high pressure for those big heads out on the golf course to spray the golf course. And then we step it back down to 60 when it gets into the community. Well, if you separate the golf course from the community, then the flow is always at 60 psi. So you take half the pressure off of it, you take half the water off of it. He believes we can reuse that line, and our cost from the irrigation company to modify that line for the community only is about $180,000 versus the $500,000 we told you it would take to implement the new line. So that would then allow us to potentially start some of that extra, since we've got 70% in the south, a little bit earlier. So things ebb and flow as we go. So you're just trying to keep everybody kind of up to date on that. Bocce ball courts, we had told you we were going to do them this fall and have them ready. We decided, since we were going to be ripping up the putting green as part of the renovation plan, that we would do all that together and come back and open all that at one time this next year. And we've settled on pickleball courts, playground basketball for down here on the other side of the cart barn. We've asked our land planner to move forward with permitting on that for us, and they're working with the county now to get and all this requires, from a permitting standpoint, is site plan approval. So this should go a lot quicker than any of the other stuff that should go a lot quicker than any of the other stuff that we've done. 2019 and beyond, we've just, from a long-range planning committee, we're keeping those in your eyesight. I don't really need to talk about them today, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And then finally, on this slide, I was asked this is a slide we put up last March at the annual meeting. We told you we thought we were going to come in at $23,050,000 at that time, or 1.3% off of what we thought we were going to do. We actually ended up at $23,047,000, so a whopping $3,000 better. So, but we did what we said we were going to do. So, I'm going to take just a couple more slides to set everybody up, and then we're going to bring the individuals up. But from a bundling merger update, at last year's January meeting, I had this exact slide. It had a different color on it. But I told you at that time we had been discussing it with the executive and finance committees. We visited clubs that have gone through this process. We discussed it with our accounting firm at RSM. We spent a lot of time talking about it at the coordinating committee level during the summer. We engaged Michelle as our legal expert in this field. We sought clarifications on accounting and legal issues. The coordinating committee made a recommendation to the board. And then, based on membership feedback, we'd seek a date for a membership vote on this issue. So the purpose of today's presentation on bundling is simply to provide a deeper explanation of what the process is and where we're at in the whole thing. It's very important to understand nothing's been decided, that we're really on the early edges of this. although we've been working on it for a long time, there's a lot of work that's gonna have to happen in the next couple of months, on this issue. All documents on this issue are work in process. The club and POA committees have not reviewed the financial performers. Andy's really just finishing those. He spent all weekend here working on those, kind of trying to pull both entities together and say, what would it look like if it was one budget, one entity, the new membership plan involved in it? What would that look like? The club and POA both have to review the final documents. We plan on having more member informational meetings, probably more in a focus group settings of 30 to 40 people. You know, we'll plan a few more of those once we get a little further. But our goal simply still is to try to do this at the annual meeting this year. We understand that's a short couple of months away, and that's a very aggressive timetable. Well, if we don't make that timetable, we'll handle it the same way we handled the golf course and the fitness. We'll do it in April or May, whenever we get the work done. But it's important for you to know that all of the boards, just like all of you, you guys are coming back and opening up your houses, then you're gone for Thanksgiving, then you're back, then you're gone for Christmas, then you're back. The bulk of the work happens here January through April with all of the boards and committees. So this will be the time when they'll be highly focused on this issue, trying to get it to a point where we can bring it forward to the members. So that completes my report, and I'm now going to invite Mr. Ligori up to begin talking about the different segments of bundling from the POA side, the club side, the bundling committee chair side, and then Michelle and I are going to handle a few Q&A for you. Okay? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Thank you all for coming. This is a great turnout, it really is. And let me start by wishing everybody a Happy New Year. So, what is bundling? Bundling is a term that kind of has been invented. It's not really a legal term, but what it is conceptually it's the merging of the country club and the Property Owners Association. It's a legal process of combining these. And bundling, as I said, it's a concept that refers to recreational facilities within the community. It would mean that if we do bundling, and I hope we will do bundling, that everything would be under one board. From a legal point of view, the country club would be merged into the POA. We likely will come up with a name, a DBA name, something like the club at Quail Ridge, and that's what we'll be known as. But from a legal point of view, it's all part of the POA. So the new entity, as I said, will operate as one with a combined board to be established as part of the merger. We've been working on this now. Actually, this goes back a couple of years, but the intense part of it has taken place over the last 6 months or so. We have a bundling subcommittee. We called it a bundling subcommittee that's been working on the bylaws. And the bylaws have come a long way. They're not necessarily complete yet, but they're a long way along. I just want to say at this point, as Bill said earlier, this is we're just at the point of where we've done a lot of work, but we're still at the 30,000-foot level, so to speak. We're still looking at this. We've still got a lot of work to do. It's a big project, a very big project. My view of it is, at the end of the day, if we get this accomplished, we will be a heck of a lot better off. We will operate a lot more efficiently. The condo association would stay in place. And as a matter of fact, the condo association, which will consist of the 21 areas, 21 different condo areas throughout our community, that board will stay in place. You will elect your representative to that board as you do now. They will essentially have the same functions that they do currently. Actually, they'll have a little bit more than that, and you'll see that as we go along. So what's the history? Quail Ridge was originally designed as 2 communities by the developer. Why is that? Well, the developer was in it to make a profit. The developer wanted to sell real estate. And the developer did sell real estate. And ultimately, when he sold all the real estate, that became then an association that was managed by the members. So we had a board for the country club, and we had a board for the residential unit owners. The unit owners delegated the management of the entities to boards of these separate independent corporations, and they in turn delegated their duties, their managerial duties, to separate administrative entities. We had 2 general managers, we had 2 chief financial officers, we had 2 of everything. We don't have that now, but we have a lot of duplication, and I'll get into that. In 1991, the boards realized this didn't make a whole lot of sense. Why are we operating that way? And I would say to you, before I go further on this, as you think about this, many of you are private business owners. Many of you are consultants to private business owners, either financially or legally or from an accounting perspective. You wouldn't operate your companies this way. It wouldn't make any sense. It's very inefficient. You would say, what am I doing this for? What have I got to gain? Nothing. There's no benefit whatsoever to that. So in 1991, they created this Joint Organizational Order Number 1, which began the process of putting the boards into the executive committees of the boards into a coordinating committee and having that be some kind of coordinated effort between the two boards. That evolved further so that in 1998 we adopted this Joint Organizational Order Number 3, which further outlined and defined the role of the coordinating committee. The coordinating committee, as you may know, currently exists and operates everything here for about 6 months of the year. It consists of the executive committee of the Property Owners Association, meaning the 4 officers, and the executive committee of the Country Club, which is 4 officers. So there are 8 of us that are on that coordinating committee. That coordinating committee exists all year long, but in season like this, the boards are here and they're effectively doing their respective work. So we get down to the bottom here. We operate like we're a bundled community, but without any of the benefits. It's just so obvious that, to me at least, that we should combine these two. We should do this merger, regardless of any financial benefit from tax savings. I know there's been discussion about tax savings. What does that mean? We'll get into it. It's a sales tax issue at this point. But if we didn't even save a nickel, not even a nickel, I would submit to you that we should all think that this would be a better way to operate. It makes no sense to do what we're doing. So let's talk about some of the primary areas that would benefit. We'd improve and simplify our government model. Just mentioned that. We'd streamline our operations and reporting structure. Again, we'd consolidate our capital needs. We'd modernize our membership categories, and Jerry Leiter's going to get into that. And the potential economic benefits associated with a merger would be numerous. Let me just touch on a couple of those. As it stands currently, we do, the folks probably don't realize this, we have almost 300 employees. We have 2 sets of payrolls. We have 2 audits each year. We have 2 tax returns each year. We have different fiscal years. I mean, it just goes on. And you think about it and say, well, what's going on here? We purchase from vendors different materials for the community. And when we place an order, we place it for everything that we need. But the order gets split from a financial point of view. What's necessary to get allocated to the club gets allocated, and what's allocated to the POA is there. So consequently, when we pay the vendor, we write out 2 checks. And we do this in several instances. It doesn't make sense. Let's talk about the governance model. This is our current structure. I mentioned the coordinating committee. We have a POA board. We have a POA executive committee. We have a condo board. We have a club board. Then we have a club executive committee. And we have 2 finance committees. By the way, we only have 1 source of revenue. Right there. That's where all the revenue comes from. There's no other source. We have 1 POA committee. That's the Architectural Review Board. And we have 6 club committees and 9 joint committees. Now, if you've been adding that up, and you probably haven't, but I have, that's 23 committees. 23 committees. What happens when we merge? We obviously have to have a board. That board will have an executive committee. That board will have a finance committee. And then we'll have 7 Quail Ridge committees that will report to the new board. And as you can tell from looking at this, we've merged some of these committees, or we're proposing to merge some of these committees. Actually, some of these have already been merged. Fitness and tennis, golf and green, house and activities, bylaws, conduct, membership and marketing, and long-range planning. Condominium Association, as I said earlier, will continue to exist. There's 21 local boards, and you'll elect your representatives to those boards, as you currently do. We're gonna have one condo board committee. That's the Architectural Review Board. Let me talk about that for a second. What we're proposing, let me back up. Currently, the Architectural Review Board reports to the POA. And in the event of a non-material change, an appeal from a non-material change, or a material change, those matters have to be heard by the POA board. With respect to all of the local areas, and that includes everything within the local area, all of that, both the appeals and the initial reviews, will be done at the condo association board level. So what that does is it gives increased responsibility to the condo association board, and we think that's where it ought to be. That's where the activity is. Now, with respect to the community facilities, such as this building, the fitness center, and those things, those would not be subject to ARB review, they'd be subject to board review. And then we have two joint committees, insurance and safety as one, and landscaping. Those two committees would report both to the condo association and to the new board of directors. So now if you added those up, that's 14 committees. 14 committees. That gets us down to 14 committees. But I want to take you through this one. I hope this is as startling to you as it was to me. We're going to eliminate the coordinating committee. That's 12 meetings per year. We're going to merge the club board with the POA board. That eliminates 6 meetings per year. We're going to create one executive committee. That eliminates another 6 meetings per year. We will merge the finance committees. That eliminates 6 meetings per year. We will merge several other committees, and we talked about this before. That's 24 meetings per year. Now, if you added those up, you'd come up with 54, thank you. You'd come up with 54 meetings per year. If each meeting takes an average of 2 hours, that's 2.5 weeks that we've lost each year that we could be more efficient with. I mean, that alone, it just blew my mind when I looked at this. I didn't realize it. I knew I was going to a lot of meetings, but I said, this is ridiculous. Really ridiculous. So, and lastly, it creates a single consolidated financial reporting structure for month and year end. I said this earlier, it eliminates one of the audits and related tax returns. It consolidates the checking accounts, and it improves our billing and collection process. And by that, what I mean is that, first off, you would only write 1 check instead of 2 checks for your monthly dues. Now you write one for the POA, and you write one for the condo board, for the country club, sorry. That won't be the case. Additionally, it'll improve our collection process because under state law, dues that are owed, any monies that are owed to the property owners association are an automatic lien on the real estate, but dues owed to the country club is not an automatic lien. Now, fortunately, we as a community don't have a lot of bad debt. We're in pretty good shape in that regard, thankfully. Everybody's very diligent about taking care of their obligations. But we still have that still happens, obviously. And to the extent that the dues are owed to the country club, they are not at the moment a lien on the real estate. Once the merger takes place, they will become a lien on the real estate. So that'll improve our collection process there. Well, I just touched on this one, Bill. I guess I jumped ahead of you. So let me go to the third one. It's anticipated we would move to a single price initiation fee, which would include the club and the POA. The new merged entity would then be able to plan effectively for our entire community from one source of funds. The one source of funds being all of your dues, but payable with 1 check instead of 2 each month. And this will create a balanced approach to planning capital for the recreational amenities and the infrastructure needs for our community. We don't really compete, but, you know, there is a little bit of we need something for the POA, we need to repave a road. But no, we need to rebuild the fitness center. Or which do we do? Do we have enough money to do both? This will allow us to plan better, because all of this will be consolidated. And so with that, I guess I'm done, Bill. Thank you very much, Jerry.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Bob, for a great presentation. A little earlier on, Bill gave us the good news about receiving this Distinguished Elite Club Award. I'd just like to say a little bit about that. I think it's really a great honor and a great thing for our club to have. And we have a great club here, and it doesn't happen by accident. Human integrity shapes our experiences. Today I'd like to take and thank all those people who have worked so hard to make our life here so great. We all have amazing moments, and they're easy to call ordinary if you have lived here long enough. We cannot take Quail Ridge life for granted because expectations demand planning and diligence. Our time here today, we are looking forward to the future of Quail Ridge, so we may remain the best we can and be for generations to follow. This morning, I'm going to speak about membership and economic benefits coming from this proposed merger. First, I'm going to talk about modernizing our membership categories. During the past several years, the Membership and Marketing Committee has been actively looking at our membership plans. Our current plan of golf and social has several drawbacks. They are: social membership dues are restricted by our bylaws to 58 to 60% of full dues. Social members can upgrade, however, golf members cannot downgrade. We have no junior or intermediate membership plans for those wishing to upgrade or downgrade for the use or health reasons. This past March and April, the membership committee recommended that both boards that they fully investigate merging the club and the POA into one community. Both boards authorized management to complete the due diligence on this issue this past summer. Here we have a chart showing the membership's life cycle with primary, intermediate, full, showing how one moves to the other. Important, probably the most important thing to understand, that all social members will be grandfathered into the primary level of membership. Let's speak about the proposed membership categories. Primary. This is the lowest level of membership available. Dues based on a price reduction from the full membership. Limited to the initial capital to be determined, the initial cap. Split evenly between current members downgrading and social members upgrading on new members. Cap will be determined and adjusted by board policy. Replaces current social membership. Limited golf per year, per household, still to be determined. Includes fitness and tennis privileges, tournament play not allowed, unlimited off-season golf at 50% of the published rate. Intermediate membership. Dues are based on a price reduction midpoint between primary and full, limited to the initial cap, still to be determined, split evenly between current members downgrading and social members upgrading or new members. Cap may be adjusted by board policy. Limited golf privileges per year to be determined includes fitness tennis privileges, includes tournament play, unlimited off-season golf at 50% of the published guest fee. Full golf membership, full golf privileges, unlimited rounds of golf, advanced tee times, includes fitness and tennis, priority sign up for all tournaments, priority sign up for all social events. Proposed membership options upgrading. Current social members may upgrade without payment of an additional initiation fee on a one-time basis at the program inception. All other categories may upgrade at any time from one category to another, subject to availability and payment of application fees. Dues will be prorated for the year of any upgrade, and all subsequent years will be billed at the new category rate. Downgrading. At the inception, current members may downgrade one or two classes based on availability. All downgrades would be based on the owner's original joining date. After the initial cap is full, all downgrades would be based upon availability. The board would have the ability to modify caps based on the economic needs of the club and market conditions. Membership legacy. Children of members can assume their parents' membership upon payment of the 50% of the current initiation fee and successful completion of the membership approval process. Parents remaining in the home can retain social use privileges. Let's speak about the economic benefits associated with this proposed merger. As we began this process and to investigate merging, it appeared that there were two potential tax benefits to this approach. The first was an allocation of the country club's property taxes to our unit owners versus it being included in the annual operating budget of the club. Based on the fact that we have non-resident golf members, non-resident tennis participants, and summer golf participants, this allocation is not available. The second potential tax benefit is that all members currently paying tax on their club dues. The management team forecasts saving and recommends redirecting any savings to transaction costs, membership plan and implementation, debt reduction, or future capital needs. The boards and the finance committees will fully vet this issue as part of their due diligence. Thank you, and Wes, you have the floor.
Getting better at that. My role is bundling or merger committee chair
was to take the charge of the two boards and come up with a set of bylaws under which the merger could happen and the new membership plan could be implemented. This is my committee. You'll notice that the two past presidents of each organization, plus the current president, plus the two finance chairs, plus the head of our bylaws committee, and an attorney, we're all part of this committee, and we went, as we started. So let me give you a progress report on where we're at. This will be what I'll be talking about: progress, merger, TAA, transition plan, and governance. We started off last year introducing the concept to the community. During the summer, we got the membership plan, and the fall, we've been working on bylaws, merger documents, the TAA, which I'll talk briefly about in a minute. And what we were trying to do is to take the best of the country club, the best of the POA, the best practices from Michelle for bylaws, and then come up with a document that reflected all that. We currently have a governance model that we're looking at, and a transition plan. And the CFO, Andy, the various finance committees, et cetera, are taking a look at how this all fits together. The merger documents are the legal documents which allow us to do what we're talking about doing, and Michelle is working on those. The TAA is the Technical Assistance Advisory. The state of Florida allows you, and I wish the state of Pennsylvania did this, but the state of Florida allows you to submit what you're going to do, and up front, they will tell you if you can do it and get the result that you're looking for. So we're gonna know whether what we are doing is going to allow the sales tax exemption up front, so we won't be in any danger of doing something and then having to figure out why it doesn't work. Next. All right, our transition plan, assuming we have a successful vote on that particular day, we would create a transition committee comprised of 16 board members, or committee members. They would be made up of the POA, executive committee, which includes the 4 officers plus 3 others. The country club's executive committee, which is the 4 officers, plus 3 chairs of committees, golf and greens, house, and membership. The immediate past presidents of both boards would also be on this transition board. Or committee, rather, transition committee. The transition committee would serve as a transition, did I say it right? Okay. The transition committee would serve until the fiscal year starts, which is October 1st, and become the transition board. They would be the transition board until the next membership vote, which would be the next membership vote at the annual meeting in 2020. Get my kids and everything. Further, the governance model, and you all will be voting for this after the transition, that the following membership meeting, we would have a board made up of 14 members, including the immediate past president of the POA and the president of the condominium association. An executive committee would include 4 officers and 3 other board members. We would have a nominating committee that would follow pretty much the procedure of the current country club board, which is to have all the board members submit names to be on the nominating committee, and then the board would vote for those names, and then the people receiving the most votes, I think it's 5, correct? The 5 people receiving the most votes would then become the nominating committee that would nominate people to put before you for that annual meeting. So, to summarize the remaining steps would be, put questions and answers on the website, finalize the bylaws, merger documents, receive the state approval, plan and host some formal meetings, seek the board approvals, prepare proxy packages to mail to all the membership, and then vote on the merger. During the transition period, the coordinating committee would be replaced by the transition committee the date the merger is approved. The transition committee will meet over the summer, the same way the coordinating committee is doing now. On October 1st, the transition committee becomes a transition board. A nominating committee will be elected, recommend a slate of candidates for all board members, and at the annual meeting, a completely new set of board members would be elected. And that board then would have an organizing committee meeting, an organizing board meeting, and they would elect their own officers.
You are done. You said, Andy, you want to come grab this one, or do you have a mic back there? Thank you very much. Take it over. Andy, you're going to need this one for questions from the audience. So, just to kind of, he'll come get it. Just to kind of wrap this up, we thought what we would do is just go ahead and answer 3, 4, 5 quick questions for you, and Michelle and I are going to tag team this a little bit, and then we'll open the floor for any questions regarding bundling or any of the other earlier issues regarding our operations here. So first is why is a merger even considered? And Mr. LaGlory touched on this a little bit about 2 entities serving to develop a well but not the members. I'm going to let Michelle take this one and just expand on that just a little bit, if you will, okay?
Certainly. Thanks, Bill. Hello, everyone. Before I give the exact answer to the question that is posed, I'd like to give a little perspective. And that perspective is that I've been practicing law in Palm Beach County for over 30 years. And my practice consists exclusively of representing private clubs, private communities, and international hotel companies that have branded private residences. In addition to that, I currently serve on the board of the National Club Association. I'm a frequent speaker and lecturer at the Club Managers Association World Conferences, and I'm also a featured columnist for the Boardroom magazine, which has recognized you so highly. For the first 2 decades of my practice, I represented developers, and we created communities such as Quail Ridge. The primary purpose of establishing 2 separate entities, that is your POA and your club, was primarily for the purpose of being able to sell you 2 separate products. So the 2 structures were artificially separated in order to be able to sell you a home on the one hand and a membership on the other hand. As the communities throughout not only the Palm Beach County or the state of Florida, but as communities around the country have matured, members such as yourself are recognizing that the purpose of having 2 separate entities is no longer necessary. And the trend in today's industry is to either merge the 2 entities or to actually create communities that are already bundled.
Yeah, most for the last 20 plus years, all of them have most of them have started that way, right? And just for the record, how many do you know that are going on down here right now?
Certainly. So in Palm Beach County alone, I have about 12 different communities that are undergoing the due diligence that your leaders are doing. 3 have already merged so far, and there's a handful of others that are in the process of undergoing it. And in addition, many in Southwest Florida and also the new communities, as Bill noted, are being created from the beginning with one single entity structure.
Thank you. A couple other reasons why we're even considering it. We believe it's important for, it's no secret that we have a lot of widows and widowers here that originally joined with their husbands and or other spouse, and one of them is gone, and maybe they don't play as much golf as they used to, and maybe they've been locked into paying golf dues for 10 years plus, and we have no way for them to downgrade now. This program allows us the opportunity to begin to explore that in a big way, and we believe it's probably one of the key items as part of it. As Mr. Liguori talked about, we also had a chance to take a real hard look at our governance model, and it just makes perfect sense for us to see. I spend a lot of my time what I would call managing up, getting ready for committee meetings, board meetings, et cetera, versus managing down, working with all of our key managers to try to make Quail Ridge better. I'd like to have more time to manage down and less time managing up, if I could. And finally, as we talked about, any savings we think could help that plan implementation, debt reduction, and our future capital needs. You saw the list of things that are 2019 and beyond. Is it true that the merger goes through will no longer be a private club? No, that's not correct. I'd say if the club is, nothing changes effectively. If the club is merged into the Property Owners Association, we'll continue to remain a private gated club community, not open to the public. It's open to our members and their guests and participants. Nothing changes with respect to that. Will the merger impact our ability to approve prospective members? This was important because I've heard that around a little bit. The legal rules that governed us before would continue to govern after the merger. The current club and residential declarations all have the same criteria. There's 3 reasons we can turn you down from being a member here. If you had a recent bankruptcy, a felony conviction, or if you had behavior unbecoming a member of another club and were censured or kicked out of that club, then we certainly could take that action. These are the only reasons permitted by our documents from being able to require property and related membership here in the club. And then will the new membership program allow current members to downgrade? Yeah, we think that's the key, as I talked about just a second ago. We've got to work out the caps of up and down and how many and what the financial impacts are, but I think over time, we've got a program that will really serve us well as a community. And then what happened to social membership category? Assuming that the process approved, that category will no longer be offered to new members. Primary will be the new category for anybody new coming in. Social members may upgrade, or they'll be grandfathered in at their current place, not necessarily move to primary, but grandfathered in, and then through attrition through a number of years, we would be able to take care of that, and that column would self-delete itself through a number of years. So that completes the Q&A portion. It completes all of our portion, and now we are happy as a group to answer any questions you may have on any topic here in the club. And Andy's going to bring a microphone to you so you can ask the question. Colonel?
Bill, one question on these new categories of membership. If somebody downgrades, will they still have a vote, or be only the people in the top category that have votes?
It's important to understand that with the merging of the club and the community, it's 1 unit, 1 vote. So regardless of what membership you have, 1 unit, 1 vote. So.
Yeah, the one exception to that. Yes. So under Florida law, all of the units are entitled to 1 vote on all general association matters. However, those that do not elect to participate in the recreational membership program, those would not be able to vote on matters strictly related to the recreational facility.
Meaning the socials, the grandfathered
The
socials.
grandfathered socials would be the only ones that would not be permitted to vote on matters having to do with the recreational facilities.
Yes. Coming around?
Yeah,
Question?
so I think the gentleman had just asked me to clarify. So recreational membership includes primary, intermediate, and full. regardless of the level of golf access, you would have the same vote. So when I say recreational membership, I mean everyone but for the grandfathered social. So it would only be the grandfathered socials that would not participate in votes as to the recreational facilities, the
Right.
golf, tennis, etc.
Which is currently the situation.
Which is currently the situation, yes, thank you.
So the question was there an update on the post office change from Point Beach to Delray Beach? That, we were turned down on that. We appealed it all the way to Washington DC, and we were turned down there as well. They said it would cause too much disruption to move one man and one truck from Point Beach to Delray, so they don't want to do it. So, yeah. Other questions? Dr. Avercamp, we'll get a microphone right over there to you.
Thank you, Bill. There's going to be new bylaws, and I wondered if the bylaws that are proposed will be presented to the membership prior to a vote on this issue.
Absolutely. Michelle, you want to?
Certainly, so it's an excellent question. So under Florida law, there's only one way that entities can be merged. First, what must happen is that both boards independently must make a resolution to put the issue to the members themselves of the two respective entities. Then the two respective members of each respective entity must vote in favor of it. And in order to have a vote, Florida law requires that each member is given the copy of all of the proposed documents, which would include.
Your faith coming and going.
Okay. Which would include the articles and the bylaws, a full copy showing all of the amendments. So that is required by law.
Maybe batteries.
Does anyone in the membership have an opportunity to influence those bylaw changes?
Well, absolutely, yes. In fact, that's what the primary responsibility of the bundling committee is. And also meetings like this.
Meetings like this and the other meetings we talked about doing the focus group.
Have the dates of evaluation of the bylaws been made public so that anybody who has a desire to put input into the new bylaw changes, that they can do so?
We have to finish the bylaws first, sir.
Okay. So they're not finished as yet?
That is correct.
They're in
So
draft form still.
everything at this moment is still under review and consideration, and we have a lot of work to do in the hopes of being able to vote at the annual meeting, but if we're not complete by then the meeting would be adjusted. But absolutely, this time period is for the entire process and all the documents to be fully considered and vetted by all the voting members.
But how can any one of us do that? Any one of the members here, how can they influence that bylaw change?
I can answer that. There's going to be town hall meetings, and at those things, we'll go into the details of what is going to be presented. So we'll have 3 or 4 or as many as we need, so people can look at it, see it, make their comments, and we'll take the direction of the wind and proceed from there.
Good, thank you.
Okay?
Any other questions out there? We got a question back here.
Sorry about that.
Well, currently, we have 2 different processes for the board makeup and for the POA makeup, right?
Yes.
The club is, it's open to everybody in that kind of election. The POA is individual communities represented. It looks to me like it's a big change because there will no longer be individuals from each community on the POA, on the board. Am I understanding that correctly?
Is-
Well, not quite. Let me try to take it. I can.
Take the mic, Blake, and
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so the question is, what happens to the current members of the POA when the merger occurs, I think this is what you're talking
Pretty
about.
much, yeah.
And what, do they lose their influence, their authority, whatever you want to call it? The answer to that is no. First of all, as I said earlier, the condo association stays in place. All members currently of the POA, with the exception of the at-large members, 5 at-large members, are determined by the individual communities. You elect your own representative to that board. So the POA board currently and the condo board currently are essentially the same. In the new model, the POA board will be what we've been discussing. The condo board will still be the same. That is to say that the condo board will consist of those members of each community, each residential community, that have been elected by the community, not by the membership, but by the people in that community. And that condo board will have the same authority that it has now, and it actually will have additional authority because the ARB will report to the condo board, and the landscaping committee and the insurance committee will also report to the condo board. Additionally, and this is not insignificant in my view, the condo board president, whomever that is, and that's going to be elected by the condo board members, will be, by virtue of his or her office, automatically a member of the new board. Does that answer your question, Dennis?
It does, but I keep thinking of the different representations. You have small communities and you have large communities. I don't know how that affects anything, but
It doesn't. That's what we have today. I mean, that's a fact of life.
yeah.
You know, that doesn't change anything. None of that changes whatsoever. I'm not sure.
I think so, yeah.
You got it?
I just wanted to, I've been at Quail Ridge many years, and just wanted to thank the board and Bill for coming up with all these new suggestions, et cetera. Thank you. Especially the different bundling options, because in my case, I've had 2 back surgeries and certain ailments which I can't play golf anymore. I used to play 5 days a week, but I'm stuck with a full membership. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you all again. Thank you.
Other questions? Well, thank you so much for
Hold on.
coming.
Just before there's no more questions, Bill, I just
Okay.
want to say one thing to you. And this is a thought I've had. You know, we come before you from time to time, I say we collectively, the management, the officers, whoever they happen to be. And 9 times out of 10, it seems like we're asking for something. We want money to build a new golf course. We want money to build a new clubhouse. We want money for this. We want money for that. Think of this one. We're not asking you for any money whatsoever. How about that?
That's a great way to close it. Lunch is ready next door for you. Thank you very much.
He doesn't have his hand in my pocket.
Hey, Carl.